that understand the proper order of life, that, you know, man over woman, woman over children. That, I mean, there's plenty of women who do that. And especially now, there's a extremely huge growing population of women that are returning to traditional values because they have realized that the modern way is ruining society and the children aren't being brought up properly.
Traditional actually means standard, and standards can change. The circumstances change, times change, necessities change, therefore standards change. So I don't really look at it as the modern woman isn't traditional. I look at it as she's fighting tradition. She can't help but be traditional. Everything we're talking about inside of the home, patriarchal system.
So I just looked it up because when I say that a traditional woman doesn't exist anymore, so like when I looked it up and it was talking about traditional women, it goes back to kind of like what Coach K was saying as far as like a more conservative, which means that you're teaching your child inside of the home. There's a patriarchal standard inside of your home, meaning that your husband like sets precedence or order, and then wife, and then children, and then it says that they align with family being at the center of one's life matters. So if you work outside of the home in any form or fashion, if you don't teach your children inside of the home, and if you don't go to or teach your children your religious and cultural practices down to the T, you would be considered a modern woman.
That's not true objectively, because there are
know.
plenty of
I know
women today
some, yeah.
that do that.
Guys,
There's plenty of women that homeschool and let their husbands lead, or let their husbands, but that understand the proper order of life, that, you know, man over woman, woman over children. That, I mean, there's plenty of women who do that. And especially now, there's a extremely huge growing population of women that are returning to traditional values because they have realized that the modern way is ruining society and the children aren't being brought up properly. So, I mean, have you not seen that, Indy?
I'm
So let
just
me-
devil's advocate. That's all I was doing. I was just
Okay.
providing you guys a textbook definition of what it says. That doesn't mean
I agree.
So with that textbook definition, I want to add something. So I've had this conversation about what tradition means for like the last few weeks on a few panels, and what I've concluded, yes, Trigger Mike is going to change the Webster's definition of traditional, you know, but traditional actually means standard, and standards can change. The circumstances change, times change, necessities change, therefore standards change. So I don't really look at it as the modern woman isn't traditional. I look at it as she's fighting tradition. She can't help but be traditional. Everything we're talking about inside of the home, patriarchal system, let the man lead. Think about it this way. Women say they don't want a patriarchy. Yes, that's a popular narrative. Well, patriarchy absent of society is a matriarchy. But women don't say we want matriarchy, right? So they just want to cancel everything. They want to stand for something, but they don't want it replaced, right? Because they still have the same exact expectations that they have of a man, which are always traditional. You are supposed to provide. You are supposed to be a father to your children. So I look at it like, oh, so you actually do want to be tradition and honor it. You just want to fight against your traditional norms. So that's where I really feel like it's women are just fighting against the standards and they're trying to change the standards of what works. They're trying it out, but they'll ultimately retreat back to tradition when it's all said and done.
I want to disagree with you a little bit, Mike, on that, because I do understand your point, definitely. And I'm sure Saida has probably the same point that I have too, is that, yes, I believe exactly what you're saying, that they expect the men to be just as traditional as always. But at the same time, I've seen, especially now, a growing group of women saying that they want the men to bring down that masculinity, bring down that patriarchal energy, if that makes any sense. When I say this, I mean like having men like Justin Trudeau, having men be more feminized, and even training their boys to be more feminine without realizing it.
I absolutely agree with you. I 100% absolutely agree with you. I think what I'm more so saying is women say that and then blame those same men for not having the masculine characteristics needed to protect them and make decisions when it comes time. They don't realize that they are they're castrating them essentially by asking them to be more feminine. But then when it's time to protect, when it's time to use your instinct, your woman killed it inside of you. She killed it inside of your son. But now she's like, protect me, please. And you're like, well, I thought we was both going to beat them up. I didn't know. But you see what I'm saying? So, yes, that's what they're saying. It's not what they really want.
I wanted to add and say that a lot of people, they just want the benefits of something. You know, if it's beneficial to me, I want it. And then have you ever been in the position where you want something and then once you have it, it's like, oh, shoot, it's not what I was expecting. And then
like a toddler.
Yeah, exactly. So you really don't know what you're like. You don't think about the consequences of wanting something. And that's what happens. They just, ideally, they think that it's something, but in reality, they don't see and compare. Because if we put it as, hey, the marriages back then used to last longer than now. So whatever they were doing, it was working better than what we're doing now. So if you want this, you kind of have to, and whatever that you're doing right now is not working. What do you think it is?
Was it working, or were people staying in relationships they were unhappy?
Whatever you want to put it. Whatever you want to put it. Because if I ask my grandmother, do you regret something? I am 100% sure that my grandmother will say no. I'm 100% sure.
Because back in the day,
hold on. The only women that will probably say something is because they are still hurting or something, but in reality, they didn't have like a good marriage. I'm not saying every marriage is perfect, but I never heard my grandfather talking in a certain way to my grandmother or disrespecting her. Her voice mattered. Like she had a voice in the house. She had, opinion. So that what I see the difference now is that men try to control. They are thinking that a traditional woman was being controlled by the men, and that's not true. Because I also don't think that my grandmother was being controlled by my grandfather. So they're also kind of confused about that.
I mean, when you look at it, I hear that narrative a lot. No, women are just different. We're stronger. I will debate any woman for hours that says they're stronger than a woman from 1950. You don't even deal with what they deal with. Let's be serious. What has changed is women's values. Your values have been replaced. That's it. Okay. So it used to be family first. Your husband was actually a priority. Fast forward to the modern woman. Myself first. Self first. Husband, not really a priority. Once I got this ring, screw that dude. He can go eat dinner out somewhere, right? So it naturally shows you that it's just the selfishness and all the stuff that we propose. And I just want to say one thing about it, because women will say now at some point in this discussion, we have a lot of women here. They're going to say we don't need a man or we make our own money. That's going to come up. But what I've noticed is that the need for a man is not erased because you make your own money. It's delayed. At some point, you're going to need a man for something. Even financially, you're going to need him. That's when a woman is going to figure out who she is, because you can't really replace a man in your life. Like every woman on this panel right now, let me ask you a question. Who is under 40? So damn near everybody, right? Last year, when I was earlier this year, I was 35. I just turned 36. My CEO came on and said he's retiring. And he's like, I always dreamed of retiring at 65. And I was 35. And I became depressed on the meeting because I got 30 more years of work. That made me just think about it that way. Right. And when I said that to a few of my colleagues, the ladies just start laughing like, I ain't working for 30 more years. I was like, I know. Women can't see themselves working that long. Many of them are going to have to, but you're going to want to take breaks. You're going to want to scale it down because your husband starts making more money. You're going to want to focus on the kids. You're going to do all these different things to compartmentalize your life based on what your man is doing. So if you don't have no man, you're going to arrive to the conclusion quicker that, oh, snap, this ain't the life I really planned out for me. And it's going to happen around 45 years old. So the need for a man is not erased. It's just delayed.
I feel that. I feel that. And I feel like society has made it to where that it's prolonged that, and it's prolonged women wanting that. right? Because as you said, that women want to have their power and have their own money and then not really care about the man and have that standard. And I completely agree with everything you just said, like hands down. Like it is so true to the point where it's not even funny anymore.
Listen, I don't think the need for a man is out of the window. I think what women are realizing is they can make their own money. And maybe, like you said, it is delayed. And I believe in the past, there's been so many women who didn't have an option to leave or to have another situation if things went bad. Now we are making our own money, so we can make decisions. And sometimes it is delayed. I don't think men are the end all be all. Like, are they very important? Absolutely. But I mean, I don't really care for the way you guys are wording it and making it seem like women are like, we don't need men at all. Disagree.
I was going to say the same thing that y'all say that y'all need women for. It's the same thing with men. Me, as a single mom of 3 kids, I am doing financially great on my own. I don't need a man for those things. I need a man to teach my son the things that I can't teach my son, that only a man can teach my son. The intangibles. You can hire someone to come in and change your light bulbs now. Like
there are things that men do to their son in terms of growth and becoming a man that a woman just can't do. It's what a man's role is. It's to teach the man.
That's why I said intangible things. That's why I was saying the intangible things. The things
I wasn't disagreeing.